Hey everyone, Anna here from girlsonkey.com. How are you? Today we are talking about how to self-publish your collection of poetry. Now, we've done a video before, which is in the link, which is how to put together your collection of poetry. This is about the actual publishing by yourself of your work. So we're going to give you 5 tips. I'm an editor and a poet. We're going to give you 5 tips for how to do that right now. Hey guys, Anna from Girls on Key. We do poetry content, we create opportunities for women and non-binary poets, girlsonkey.com. Today we're talking about how to put together your self-published collection of poetry. So the first thing that you want to do is have your manuscript ready. So you don't want to think about publication until your manuscript is edited, it's ready, it's proofread, it's done. All the poems are selected, you've gone through the steps like in our video on how to put together a collection, you've curated your content, you've had it checked with an editor, you've gone through, you've proofread, and it's ready, it's done. Then you can start to think about how you want to self-publish. Now, obviously, you can create yourself an artisan zine or collection where you make it in a DIY style on a photocopier, that kind of thing. Today, we're talking about how to make an actual book through a self-publishing website. So yeah, the first thing, have your manuscript ready. There are manuscript assessors available. I also offer that service. I can put a link in the description about that service if you're wanting someone to assess your manuscript to see if it's ready for publication, what steps you could take to improve it and make it more marketable. There is that service, or just look up manuscript assessors in your area online. So they offer a service where you pay them some money, they go through and they check it for you to make sure that it's all ready to go. They might be able to offer editing and typesetting, which we'll talk about a bit later. So I also offer that typesetting as well, but that's all in the description, so don't worry about it. So number 2, budget. Do you have any money to spend on it? Now, when it comes to self-publishing, you can save money if you spend more money. So if you have a $1,000 budget, you're going to be able to get a cheaper price on printing your book. If you only spend $5 or $10, if you can only afford not very much, you're not going to get as many, the price of your book is going to be more expensive because it's done by volume. So it increases in volume, the price decreases. So the more money that you can save and put aside towards, or crowdfund or whatever, fundraise towards printing your book, the cheaper in the long run it's going to be. So for example, I published Gabrielle Everall's book, link below. Now, we use lulu.com. I'm going to talk about a couple of the actual self-publishing websites in a little bit. But so for your book, so what we did with Gabrielle's book is you need to think about your budget. We ran into problems at the very beginning because I could only afford to print 10 books. And so in the long run, it ends up cutting into our costs. And you need to think, are you going to make any profit on this book? For example, if it costs you $7 each book to print and you only sell it for $8, you're only going to make $1 per book. Is that worth it at the end of the day? That's a question that you can ask for yourself. If you don't want to make any money, just make sure you don't lose money, because that's silly. You don't want to do that. But yeah, so make sure that at least you're covering your costs. So for example, if it's $7 to sell it for at least 10. But think about the price point and what people would be actually willing to pay for that work, and that comes back to your audience and where you're going to sell it and all those things, but we won't talk about that just at the moment. Number 3 is, how are you going to tell people about this? Are you going to have it with you when you do a reading? Are you going to sell it online? What is the distribution channel? Do you want to make it into a digital book through Amazon? If you think about the channel that you're going to use to distribute your book, distribution can sometimes be costly. It can be difficult to get your book into a shop if it's self-published. So just find out, have a Google about distribution and think about, how am I going to let people know about it? Do I have enough friends on Facebook who will care, who will know? Am I going to create an event where I sell it so that people can see on Facebook and they know, today my book is for sale, am I going to have a launch? Just to think about, do I have the resource and the time and the energy to actually distribute it? it's fine if you just want to have a couple if you just want to have a couple on hand. It's quite a good way to self-publish, is to just print a few, have them with you when you do your readings, and then you can sell them to people who like your work directly, which is really nice. It's like if you do a music gig and you have a CD on hand that you can sell people. So that's really nice. So number 4 is, what platform are you going to use? So there are a number of platforms available. We use lulu.com quite a lot, link below. So lulu.com is a really great professional site. There are sites like Blurb and other sites where you can make a professional looking book, and they are really good services. So we found Lulu to be really high quality. It has a perfect bound option, so it looks like a real professionally published book. And nowadays print on demand has really improved. The quality is great, and so you get a lot of value for money. Sometimes it can still be expensive, as I said, if you're only able to print a few, but it's worth doing if you want to have it look great. So number 5 is the typesetting and design. So if you don't know what typesetting is when you take a Word document and you put it into a publishing software like Adobe or Publisher, and you get to move stuff around on the page to lay it out so that it looks like a real book. Word isn't quite as good for that. So often you will need to upload a certain type of file when you're going through the process on these sites. It'll tell you what it is, so don't worry. It'll say this is the type of file, this is the file size, this is the specification. So just make sure that you work through those as you create your publishing file, as you typeset. Something that you might want to consider is hiring someone who has that skill, who has that technical ability with typesetting and knows what to look for. I do a typesetting service. I put that in the link. So what that is I will take the raw Word files and help to put them into a format that is book friendly. So looking at the pagination, looking at the margins, looking at everything that comes into it, laying it up on the page. And it can be called sub-editing, it can be called desktoping or typesetting. So that's the 3 names for that service. And then obviously the design is very, very important. And actually I'm going to say that's number 6. It's separate. It's really important. You know, I've seen a lot of collections that don't do a service to the actual quality of the work that's in them. And so you might want to see in your budget, do I have room to hire a friend or on Fiverr or someone who has graphic design and book publishing experience? Because you don't want to just, if you've spent all this time and energy and money working on your poetry, you don't want to then have bad design. You want it to look good because people are going to pick that up. They want to buy it. That's your packaging is your marketing. So you really want to know that that's going to be done in a way that represents your work to the very highest quality. So check out other books online and see how they have done it, what you like, what you don't like, and then speak to the designer about how you want to present and what your branding, what your image will look like. And you might want to find an illustrator who can do an illustration or a photograph for the cover, get your author photograph taken for the back. So the back cover is also a marketing blurb. It's a chance to sell the book because someone picks it up in a shop, they read the back, that's the part that tells them what this book is, who this author is, and why they should read it. And so you really want to sell it through that. If you don't know how to do that, find someone who does, find someone, a marketing person who can write you a blurb. Have a read of other ones because that will really give you an idea of what people do put on there. When you're in the bookshop, maybe just check it out and say, what have they done here and how have they presented it? And obviously there are many options when you come to self-publish your book through the websites like Blurb and Lulu. You can choose various options and they're going to be different prices. So if you're looking at a pocketbook, for example, it's going to be a different price to if you do an A4 hardcover. Obviously, that's going to be a lot more pricey. So that's something to take into consideration when you are selecting what type of book you want to present. You might not be able to do it in your preferred format at first. Maybe go for something a bit smaller just to start with until you have enough funds to do or save up or crowdfund until you can do that. But just know that some formats, perfect binding is obviously a lot pricier than making a stapled booklet. You can go to a local printer, you can get them to make a spiral bound or stapled printed book. You can go to a zine shop and use their photocopier and their staplers and do it that way. So self-publishing, when you do it through a website and you do perfect bound it can be, you know, it can be pricier. And perfect bound through a normal printing shop is very expensive. So print on demand is a good way to go if you want it to look like the books that you see in the shop and you want it to look really professional and slick. Then that's a really good way to go about it. So check out Gabrielle's book that I've done on Lulu and my book down in the links. Yeah, and if you have any questions about that, if you want more content, if there's anything else that you want us to do a video about in terms of self-publishing, this was just a taster of some of the things to consider. So I'll just run through them again. Number 1, have your manuscript ready. Number 2, think about your budget. Number 3, how are you going to advertise and distribute it? Number 4, which platform will you use? Have a research about those. Amazon's a big one. And number 5, the typesetting and design. So those are the areas that you need to consider. And there are lots of people who are able to give you advice about all of those areas. And I am a publisher myself. I've published many books for others and myself. So down in the link below, if you are interested in any of my services for any of those parts, whether it's how to distribute, how to sell, how to use Lulu, how to typesetting. If you want someone to do typesetting for you, I can put services down there, so give me a buzz. Yeah, and if there's anything else that you want to know about poetry, hit us up. We're going to have videos every single week coming through, girlsonkey.com, and hope to see you at one of the events soon or back on YouTube chatting with us in the comments. All right, thanks, bye.